Good morning, dear students of class 12. Welcome to this English online class. Today we are going to take up the lesson Deep Water, chapter 3 from your main reader Flamingo. We have taken up the text of this lesson in 3 parts. Today we'll have an overview of this lesson. So let us have a brief about the background of the author. William Orville Douglas was an American jurist and politician who served as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, and he was nominated by the President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Douglas was confirmed at the age of 40, one of the youngest justices appointed to the court. He was born on 16th October 1898 at Minnesota, United States. He died on 19 January 1980, Maryland, United States. He was nominated by Franklin D. Roosevelt, and some of his famous works are Of Men and Mountains and The Courtiers. Now, background of this lesson, the theme of this lesson, Deep Water has been taken from William Douglas' book, Men and Mountains. It was his personal experience. It reveals how, as a young boy, William Douglas nearly drowned in a swimming pool, and in this extract, which you are going to read, he talks about his fear of water and thereafter how he finally overcame it. You can see this book of Men and Mountains by William O. Douglas. Now, the lesson begins with author's aversion to water. He was about 4 years old and he visited a beach with his father, and they stood in the surf, enjoying the beach. It was in California. Suddenly, he was knocked down by the waves. He was buried in water. His breath was gone and he was extremely frightened. But his father laughed over the incident because it was not that serious. Now, another misadventure with water happened at the YMCA pool. When Douglas was about 11 years old, he decided to learn swimming in YMCA pool, and he bought a pair of water wings, went to the pool, he paddled with the water wings, he imitated other boys. So he was gaining confidence. But one day he was sitting all alone on the edge of the pool. A well-built young man, strongly built, came there and he threw him into the pool. He was frightened, but not frightened of his wits, because he had a strategy in his mind. He would hit the bottom with force, and with same force like a cork come out on the surface, and he would swim to the edge. But this strategy of his did not work. It failed thrice, and he couldn't come up. He was almost drowned in water, but he was saved by other boys. When he regained consciousness, he found himself lying on the side of the pool, surrounded by others. And the boy who had thrown him into the pool was being reprimanded. And he was justifying by saying he had just played a joke. He never meant it seriously. Now, the impact of YMCA event, the immediate impact was he felt very weak, he was almost shaking, he cried, and even as he lay on his bed. For days together, this incident was in his mind. A haunting fear for water remained in his heart, and the slightest exertion upset him. It made him wobbly, weak, shaking in the knees, and sick in the stomach. And the result was he gave up swimming. He never went back to the pool. Now, the subsequent fears of this event was it has long-term effects. The fear remained in a river or pool. Whenever he went to the river or any pool, the fear would return. His leg would become paralyzed. Icy horror would grab his heart, and it deprived him of enjoying water sports, fishing trips, canoeing. So now it was impacting his normal life. So one day he decided that he should do something to conquer his fear of water. He engaged an instructor, a trainer to learn swimming, who made him practice 5 days a week, an hour every day. He put a belt around him. A rope was attached to the belt, which went through a pulley, then ran on an overhead cable. He held on to the rope, and the author went back and forth several times each day. So this was done to remove his fear of water with all precautions. And it took 3 months to learn. The instructor then taught him to put his face under water and exhale. Breathing exercises he was made to practice. To raise his nose and inhale. Then, after he was trained in the breathing exercises, the instructor made him kick with his legs. So piece by piece, he finally learned how to swim. And then all these pieces were combined into whole, and he was made to swim. He learned how to swim under the guidance of an instructor. You can see in the picture also. An instructor is training a swimmer. Now, final victory over fear remained. The instructor's job was over. Now William had to practice in order to completely remove his fear. He had to self-practice. Though the author had learned to swim, he still felt that the old fear would grip him again. So he went to Lake Wentworth, swam 2 miles across the lake, swam the crawl, breaststroke, side stroke, backstroke, but tiny vestiges of fear, the old sensation returned in miniature, in small form. So he had not finally overcome his fear. Again he went to the Titan, to Conrad Meadows, to Conrad Creek Trail, to Mead Glacier, and camped by the warm lake. He swam across to the other shore and back. But this time he felt he had conquered his fear, because the fear did not uh, bother him while he was swimming. And he was overjoyed. When he came out of water, he the entire valley seemed to echo with the sound of victory. He had finally overcome his fear of water. Now the lessons learned, though he had conquered his fear of water, but this had a larger meaning. He learned this lesson that in death there is peace. There is terror only in the fear of death. The narrator had experienced both the sensation of dying and terror that fear of it can produce. So the will to live grew in him stronger and stronger. It impacted his entire personality. Now he was prepared to face any challenge of life with courage. He had mastered his fear, and he was prepared to face any challenge of life and come out a winner. So he had not only conquered his fear of water, he had learned a larger meaning by conquering this fear of water. The larger meaning was he was now better prepared to face all the challenges of life and climb the ladder of success. Now, the message the lesson gives is it deals with his childhood fear of water. A misadventure at the YMCA pool had developed an aversion of water in him. Uh, Although he was suffering, he had this fear of water and aversion for water when a wave knocked him down in the California beach. But he tried to do away with his fear of water by getting himself enrolled to learn swimming at the YMCA pool. But again, a misadventure happened, and he suffered from hydrophobia, fear of water. This story focuses on the fact that childhood fears must never be treated lightly. Each one of us have some fear or the other, which we have got it since our childhood. If they are not tackled, then they make deep inroads into one's psychology. Douglas analyzes his fear and finally determines to overcome it. So, the story has a message for all of us. We must try to overcome our fear. Although it may be a small fear, but we should not live with that fear. We should try to overcome it. And if we are able to do it, we will find that life has a larger meaning for all of us. So thank you, students. Hope you have understood the lesson. If you have any queries regarding this lesson, you can post it in your group and get your doubts clarified. Thank you. Have a nice day. Take care.